Okay, Josh, we're here, buddy. The chicken store, Uncle Mars.
Yeah. My mother had a sister. Keep in mind, I think there were about 8 of them. Mom was the oldest. So some of Mom's behavior, toughness, comes from that because she was responsible for a lot of those, her siblings, her younger siblings. But at any rate, her younger sister, Ethel, lived in a place called Friendship, Delaware. A little place about big as your thumb. And they had about, I think it was about 14 acres, Charlotte? Yeah, 14. I think it was about 14 acres. And Mom always looking for a business opportunity. Thought that if they would supply the chickens, and she would open up a store and she would sell. They would bring them up, and of course, they could sell their chickens, et cetera, et cetera. The other piece was that she would go over on Dock Street, and that used to be a ferry. They used to go off Kane Avenue to Philadelphia. And you go over there and pick up your crates of collard greens and your fresh vegetables, and she would sell that as well. So that's kind of the way that started. Was a business opportunity. Now keep in mind, so that you get some perspective, there was a state convention at the church one year. Around the corner was an empty store. Mom rented the store. We had to go around there and clean it out. She opened up a restaurant. And for them 3 or 4 days that they were there, she sold meals. She used to hook up with this same sister, Randolph, and they used to have camp meetings. Now, you young ones don't know what a camp meeting is. A camp meeting was out in the woods. The old folk used to build an open-air type church. Have a roof on it, sides would be exposed, and they would have benches. And they would have church for 3 days, 4 days. You'd start maybe about Thursday, and from Thursday to Sunday night. Well, Mom would hook up with this same sister and uncle, and they would open up a restaurant. So they'd serve chicken, mostly chicken and the stuff that they got off the farm. So Mom was always looking for a little business opportunity and a way to make some money. So she's very enterprising. So that's the way that's right. Carlton mentioned Grandma Hall. Now, I don't know how correct it is, but according to Cousin Marion, Grandma Hall was Mom's grandmother. Now, Marion says she died at 108. Okay. Daddy's mother died at 104. So you also got some longevity in the family. And of course, and strands really have some longevity as well. But as far as the story, now they can tell you, now we all have to pluck chickens and wrap up chickens and tend the store. I think he plucked most of them. Now, Charles, was that you?
Yes, that was me.
Yeah, that one called
Mars got a job. Mars got a job for a root beer truck, so they excused him. And of course, fell on me. Mars used to do it, but he went out and got a job, a real job, on a root beer truck. And so I had to do it. Because the guy over there, he was 3 years younger than me, and he's still asleep, you know what I mean?
Okay, take the frown off your face. You have a question?
Yes, I do.
Who are you?
I am Maya Reid from Fort Washington, Maryland.
Ooh.
Living right now in New York.
Really?
I have a question for Grandmom and Aunt Bernice. We've heard a lot from the men. I wanted to know what you all used to do for fun when you were about our age. Or my age.
I didn't have fun.
Well, I think I'm Geneva, and I think what
Bernice and I have a similar background, really. And what I did for fun was really going to church. I mean, that was basically my background. And there were the events all around the church that involved around the church, like conventions. And we were able to go out of town and go to things and get dressed up for that. I could go to the school functions that were occurring during school hours. You know, like for instance, after hours they would have dances. Well, once in a while I could go to something like that. But my parents were very strict because my dad was pastor, so we just weren't allowed to do a lot of things like kids do today. They just didn't allow us to do it. So I went to the movies very seldom. I remember the first time I asked to go to the movies. And I asked my girlfriend down the street from me, she used to go to movies every Saturday. That was their outlet. But my parents didn't allow me to go, really. But I got up the nerve one time to ask them, could I go? So I asked my mom, could I go? And my mom said, go ask your dad. Somebody said that earlier. But that's the way my parents operated. You ask one and then they tell you to go ask the other one. And I finally ended up going to the movies that particular day, and I was just ecstatic. I don't even know what I saw, but I was ecstatic about being able to go. So that's what I did. That was my fun life. And going to the park and events, but they were all centered around church, really, and church activities.
Question? Did you write a question there?
Did Bernie say she had no fun?
Yeah, well, you put a period on it.
I have a question for Uncle Carlton. Is it the same being the
are you?
baby?
Who are you?
I'm Adhana, and I currently live here in Fort Washington, Maryland. So, Uncle Carlton, is it the same being the baby of the family now as it was back in the day?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, what I mean by that is that I think, this is what I think. I think the older kids are raised with the responsibility of your little brother and little sister. I mean, they don't have any choice about that. They tell you, go outside and play with them. They tell you to let them have that toy, you know, because he's hollering, you know. You know, get a piece of that candy. I know he didn't buy it, you know. So I think the older ones grow up more sharing and responsibility, and the younger ones don't have that. So you grow, not all kids. I can only speak for me. But I grew up very selfish. And I really thought there was 3 in the family, 3 boys. And that all the money got divided up 3 ways. And when he left, then it was going to get divided up 2 ways. And when that one left, it was all for me. That really is the way I thought, you know. So when it came time to wean me, you know, they really had to come and play really hardball with me because I was still in the, you know, I was still in the give me, but that's just the way I was, you know. I remember when I graduated from college, some kids got cars, so I went home, asked her I have a car. So I asked my mom, you didn't ask my dad, I asked my mom. So I told her, ask Daddy if I could have a car. That's where it went. She said, your daddy ain't gonna buy you no car. So I have to try anyway. So your mom's gonna be loved, so they kind of hang out there with you sometime, even though they know what the answer's gonna be. They won't tell you, they just go get it and bring it back. So Daddy, she came back, your daddy ain't buying me no car. So I said, well, tell him buy me a used car. I just to show you the mentality. Say, you can buy me a used car. Mom said, Dad, your daddy ain't buying you no used car. I said, well, Mom, you know, check with me. So she came back the day or 2. Another thing about moms know when to ask. And you can push them and you can definitely get a no fast. But if mom say, well, I'll talk to him, you don't need to be saying, Mom, go do it right now, because mom knows she'll catch him when he's mellow or whatever, he had a bill or whatever it is, and they can get a yes for you. Even though they don't even agree, they'll try to, think mom want to be loved, so they're going to stay with you, see. Came back, no used car. So I said, okay, well, Mom, see if you're going to buy me a used car, you give me a down payment for a used car. Ridiculous, huh? A down payment. I was going in the Army in 3 months, so I was going to pay for it myself. So Mom said, well, I don't think he's going to do that. I said, well, Mom, he'll do the down payment on this car. I'm going to get a job in 3 months. So she came back. And when she came back that time, she said, your daddy wants to talk to you. So my dad left early in the morning. So her job was to get me up. So he got me up. I had to be down at the bus repair like about 6 in the morning. And Daddy came down. He said, I need to tell you something, you know. He said, I ain't giving you another damn dime. He said, 4 years of college is more than my parents were able to give any of us, you know. He said, I'm going to give you a one-way ticket. No, he said, Morris is going to get, he wouldn't even trust me with the money. Morris is going to get you a one-way ticket into the Army. And if you don't make it there, you just keep on. Just keep on going. I don't know what you're going to do, but if you can't make it, just keep on going, you know. Now, then I understood. My daddy was not going to buy me a car. But he had to go, I mean, because I wasn't, you know, mature at the time. I mean, I was just, matter of fact, I was so bad, I went on and bought the first car I could buy. I knew I was making $222 a month and paying $110 a month car note. Show you how way out I was. And Bernice came and said, where's the money? And I said, well, and I mean, we had 110 out of 2 something to live on, and my car was sitting out on the driveway. Brand new 57 Chevrolet, looking good. And we didn't have no gas money. We used to wash it and clean it. And then I would tell my neighbors, can I get a ride in with you tomorrow? Bernice may need a car. Bernice, you know, I'll drive. You know, but I had no gas. You know, and so, and I told Amanda that story. I said, when she got big and started making her own money, I said, honey, let me tell you, some of these old stories. I know you may not like them, but don't you watch your pennies. I owe over half of my salary was on a brand new car that I couldn't even drive. You know, but that's how I wasn't thinking. Now after that, Nana kicked in after that. That's my mom. And now Bernice has to pry this hand over now. She needs a crowbar to get some money out of me. Now I went to the other extreme, girl. Well, there got to be a second hand one someplace, girl. Keep looking. But yeah, I think it's because of the environment, the way we grow up, and my brothers and their mothers tell them, you make sure that child don't get in the street. It was their responsibility. So I could just hang out there and get on the sidewalk, and they'd have to come snatch me. I figured I'd hang out there for they let me go. And when they put me back, I'd get back in. You know, I remember one time.
He was my responsibility.
I remember one time she told her twins, go outside and play with Amanda. I said, I don't want to play with Amanda. Amanda's girl. I told her to go out there and play with Amanda. Amanda doesn't have nobody to play with. The boys got to go out and play with Amanda. You know? But I mean, that's how you're raised. The younger ones underneath, you know. So. Yeah, I think it's it may be different things now that makes that is the differential, but I think that the pecking order makes it. If I'm wrong, I mean, somebody I don't mind being corrected, but I heard him tell his boy he's the big brother. Right, that one right there. Brian's the big brother. He's been told he's the big brother. He's to look after his little sister. I heard that in the house. So
Oh, that's the way it is.
I think
That's the way it is. That is the way it is. And when Mom left home, Morris was in charge.
Yeah.
Carlton broke something. Morris got the beat. Morris was in charge. And one night, and this was years ago, Joe Lewis was fighting on radio. We was in the living room listening to it. Carlton snuck out of the living room, went into the kitchen, and thought he had got some peanut butter.
They made me eat that
But
mustard.
it was mustard. And he just laid that stuff on, and he come running into the living room with this sandwich with this mustard on it. And Morris said, now you eat.
They were mean. I didn't eat that mustard sandwich. I thought it was peanut butter.
Yeah.
And they made me eat that mustard
Morris
sandwich.
made
Well, that's what you get.
That's what they said. That's what they said. So they get even. They get even when the parents are around.
Yeah,
They get even.
but
Yeah.
if Carlton broke something, Morris got it.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I think it's the same. And when you have something,
you got a question?
you can expect something the same.
I would like to add to my former statement, which is
She's
true.
oldest.
I was the oldest of 12 children. There's not much time for fun when you're oldest. You're responsible for them. And they say you take them down the street and they don't want to go with you. So I had a hard time. So anyway, I know those oldest stories. Mhm.
I have a question.
And who might you be, sir?
I'm Carlton Reid from Maryland, and I live in Virginia.
I got you.
Woodbridge, Virginia. I have a question for my grandpa. What was your favorite thing about your parents?
Favorite thing about my parents? I guess from what I I always have to watch what I say now, because these guys always tell me it wasn't like that, you know, so I can go with what I remember.
Your perspective.
And that was that I thought they were reasonably consistent. They weren't this way today and that way tomorrow. I mean, and that's what I remember. I think the way her mom was today, she's the same way on Saturday, same way on Wednesday, same way on Sunday, you know. But you can count on that too, you know. You know just how far you can go before you get killed. You know, 'cause you know where the limits are. You know where the limits are, you know. So, yeah.
I guess one of the things I remember is Christmas. We always had a good Christmas. We got skates year after year, because by that time we worn them out. But when we were young, like so, there was no Christmas tree up. When we went to bed, there was no Christmas tree up. And all that stuff came in and put up after we went to bed. But every year, there was a Christmas. Lots of food, lots of candy, lots of good stuff. It was a happy household in Christmas. Unlike Easter. Easter, we always had our Easter baskets. But the brothers used to steal from each other's basket. You used to count your jelly beans. Come by again, I'd be 500. That used to be one of the funny things. Everybody trying to get each other from the basket. But in terms of what my mother and father did, that Christmas was always there. And like Carlton said, it was kind of consistent. You knew what you could do. And my father used to say, in my case, you want to make some money? I'll be by with the truck at 8 o'clock. Now, if you come by with the truck, be there. If he happens to come by at 5 minutes of, and you're not standing there on the step or sitting on the porch, the truck would just slow down and keep right on going. Now, once you missed the truck, you had no weekend money. You know, like try to get to the movies or something. But if you got on the truck, you got yourself about 2 o'clock, you got on about 8, 2 o'clock you was back. You had your little pocket change, you know, fold it up and put it in your pocket, and the weekend was nice.
You always thought Daddy paid good too.
They
Yeah,
paid you the same thing he paid the other people.
He gave you nothing.
Paid you good.
You had to earn everything.
Yeah. Oh, no, he didn't give you nothing, but he paid well.
They paid you nothing.
I guess I got a question along those lines. And what was your guys' favorite holiday memory?
Who are you? Oh, we heard from you once already.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Ryan.
Identify yourself again.
I'm Ryan. What was your guys' favorite holiday memory?
He gets up for it.
We always had good holidays. We had toys at Christmas. Yeah, we had clothes at Easter. And I guess when I think back, we lived good when I compared to some of my friends who didn't have. And, you know, I used to talk to Morris, you know, and I used to say such and such a thing. Man, why is this and this? He said, well, you know, you always had a mother and father in the house. And it never made much sense to me until I got older. But stabilization is very, very important. You know? When you get older, you realize, you know, you got, and listen, and when Daddy said, Alice, don't get that boy another nickel, that's exactly what he meant, and exactly what happened. I was in junior high school. Not senior high school, I was in junior high school, and I had to get out there and hustle. And he said, boy, spend your last nickel, if you have to, put it in your belly. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I've only been broke once since then. Once, I'm damn near 80. But I've only been broke once since then. Now I was in the service, I don't know what happened. I still don't know what happened. Somebody said it must have been a woman. I said, I guess so. I don't know. I've only been broke once since my father made that statement. And that's the truth. I'll always have a nickel in my pocket like that.
Kevin, you had a question? Identify yourself.
I'm Kevin. I'm from Oxnard, California. I have a question for Grandpa. What was it like raising your own children?
Well, it wasn't easy, because it was different times, you know,
Wow.
different times. There was no iron then, see, you know. Mom picked up an iron and bust you in the head with a hot arm. She didn't care, she was iron with it. You can't do that now, you know. They put you in jail now. Hit your kid in the head with a hard. Yeah, that ruled by fear then. You can't do that now. Can't do that. But I've been lucky. I got good kids. I got good kids. You can see, we ain't one of my boys home too now. I mean, shit. He ain't doing bad.
And Papa would be so proud.
Oh, yeah.
I did wonder why he had so much house.
Yeah.
Mama would ask him why. My mother would ask him why he got a house this big.
Now, I'll tell you who got over like a fat rat with our parents. Beverly.
Oh,
Beverly
yeah.
got everything she wanted.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, honey, she would charm my father.
Mm-hmm.
And then wherever she went, she'd go get them, and off she would go with the two kids. Put them in the back of the car, and off she would go. Beverly lived like a queen.
Yeah.
Now, if anybody got any money out of Mom, now the first one was him. Because when he went to college, Mom sent him money. I told Charles, I don't know what's going on with Mom. She getting softened over these or something. He got sent money. The second thing was, he didn't pay one dime to go to college. Not one dime, he didn't have a dime. One dime.
But he's the baby.
Hey, so he got his college paid for, and Mom sent him money. Now you know, there's a world of difference
Oh,
between
you're
me
studying so
and
hard.
him. He got all the goodies.
No, wrong.
He got all the goodies. So I have to answer your question about being a baby. Yeah, the babies make out.
Oh, yeah.
The babies make out.
Well, I tell you, the babies do get their come-ups when that first grandbaby shows up.
Oh, yeah.
They
Well,
ain't- 'cause they ain't
Beverly-
used to sharing no space
Beverly
with
was the
them.
first female.
And I got a niece and a nephew pretty close together, man, and I had to move out. They moved me out.
Open up his pocket and tell her to go in there and get something.
Oh,
I tell you, they didn't give me nothing after I left junior high school.
I mean, Beverly
And
got
she said,
overboard.
Pop, you got any money? He said, reach in here. Go in there and take the biggest thing, probably, but you said, hey,
Papa, you got any money?
take the biggest thing.
That's right. Got it all, man.
You know, Mars had the first grandchild, and it was a boy, and I guess Mom said, look, I don't want to see no more boys.
You
Take that boy home.
gotta keep in mind, she had 7 boys.
Yes, I know.
You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but they were all boys.
What were you saying, Uncle Morris? Not what happened?
So my mother had 7 boys. Not all of them made it, but it was 7 boys in a row.
Well, it was very good for us. I'll identify myself. I'm married to the baby, Bernice Reid. And she was so partial to me and Geneva because if we went to the hospital, she didn't want to see the baby, she wanted to see us.
That's what she said.
Question?
I have a question. I'm Marcus Reid, youngest son of Charles and Geneva. This question is for my dad. Dad, how'd you meet Mom?
Oh, we went to school together. But, you know,
She's your high school sweetheart?
no. We just went to school. We went, you know, we were in same grades and almost same school since about 4th or 5th grade. But like she said, her background was what it was. And I just remember her always just wearing a black skirt and a white blouse. I mean, to me, that's all she ever had on. black skirt and white blouse. And
It's red today, though.
it just went all the way through the hospital. I got to be friends with her brother, but I never paid much attention to her. That all didn't happen until we was both out of school. She was just walking down the street one day, and by then she had her own money. She had a job. She's all dressed up. Who's that, man? You know, just out there, just scoping. You know, she just walking down the street. Well, when we was in high school, I just remember her as a girl. She sang in the choir. And, you know, what she said is about right. She lived a very restricted life. She just had on what I recall, just a black skirt and white blouse. It might have been a different. Oh, by then she was working in shopping storages, Charles, and
After she started working,
yeah,
I remember her after she was working for the federal government.
yeah,
All I knew is, man, she was sharp.
yeah.
I mean, man, she had more outfits than you could shake a stick at.
Oh yeah.
Now, every once in a while, you can get her to admit it. But I mean, she had some clothes.
Yeah.
Like Candida, but don't have to feel bad at all. 'Cause, I mean, she probably could have matched you back in those days. I mean, she stayed sharp. You know, good job. Yes, indeed. Every time I saw her, she was clean.
I'll tell you, I remember how we really hooked back up.
Look back.
Well, what I mean by it's from school days, okay? Charles had gone into service, and he'd come out, and you'd start going to school over in Philly.
Yeah.
And I was on the bus because I worked in Philadelphia for the government, like he said. And I was on the bus going home. Well, he got on the bus, and when I saw him get on the bus, I was like, I almost started to move over because I didn't want him to sit by me because he was, you know, he didn't pay attention to me in school, so I didn't him to, you know, sit by me. So, but he got on and he recognized it and he said, oh, he said, well, where have you been? I haven't seen you. And I was kind of embarrassed because we went to church in Philadelphia.
I was street, see, I was street, man. Hey, look at you, you know.
We went to church in Philadelphia, so he said, oh, he said, I don't ever see you around. I said, oh, that's because I hang out in Philly. Well, I did, because that's where I went to church, you know.
Okay.
And then that's how we really started talking to each other from that point.
Okay, I have a question. Can somebody explain to me how the Reids got to Camden?
Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you? Turn that around
Turn
and
around.
let everybody know who you
I'm
are.
the cameraman. We all know who I am.
No,
No, we don't. You made everybody
That's not how this works.
Who are you? Where are you from?
Who's your daddy?
That's my daddy. How did the Reids arrive in? This is Myron.
With the reunions,
No, how did the Reids arrive into Camden and?
after the Reids
Morris
arrived.
Reid, how did Morris Reid
Oh,
get to Camden?
Morris Reid Sr. Came to live with his uncle, his father's brother, who lived in Mount Euphraim, New Jersey, who was one of the first few to build a house on the present Black Horse Pike. And my father came at a fairly young age, and that's where he stayed, and got his own push cart. Back then, that's how they started, with a push cart doing what they called jobbing. We call it handyman work now. But back in them days, I still have this bill head for jobbing. But that's how he got here. Mom, on the other hand, mom was born in Salisbury, Maryland, and as I indicated earlier, her grandmother was the one who took care of the family. They lived in Smyrna for a while. My grandmother also lived in Camden on West Street, but she would take them to Pleasantville, and she would rent a house in Pleasantville, and the family would work in Atlantic City over the summer. they used to kind of follow work around in those days, and that's one reason why Mom didn't get much of education. Daddy didn't get much of education because an uncle of his named Morris H. Reid, March Henderson Reid, told him he was dumb. So my father never liked him, although he is named after his uncle, Morris Henderson Reid. Right? And then I'm named after him. I'm the junior. But that's how he got up this way. And then from that on, I know he used to run dances and got a truck and this, that, and the other. So.
No, what was your next question, dear?
My next question?
Mm-hmm. Did you have another one? No?
Oh, I did.
I thought so.
I kind of forget.
I have a question, Mary.
Oh,
Myles Reid, eldest son of Charles and Geneva Reid. We have a family member who was a judge. Can the brothers tell us about the judge, and if any of you happen to have an opportunity to be before the judge?
You said it was the member was the judge?
Right.
I indicated earlier that my father came in to live with his uncle. His name was James Reid. And he had 4 children, one of which was a boy. Graduated Howard Law School and practiced law in Camden. And became a family court judge and then a superior court judge in New Jersey. You know.
He also had juvenile.
Yeah.
And he only had temporary appointments in all those years. He was a temporary judge. He did not qualify for a full pension after sitting up there all those years.
Well, he got a pension because a couple of his friends finally went, because he wasn't supposed to get anything. And a couple of his friends had some legislation passed through the Senate and the House in New Jersey. And that's how he ended up with the half pension that Charles is talking about.
you have the other question? The other question? Oh, yes. Okay. Uncle Morris, you ran track, right?
Yeah.
I was wondering what events you ran and what your times were.
Just to make sure how fast.
Now wait a minute. Okay. Yeah, Charles was pretty fast too. Yeah, but he spent most of his time playing football. Yeah, I was the I think 11th grade. I became a state champion 102.20. They don't call it the 102.20 anymore. It's 100 meters. When I ran it was 100 yards. And it was 220 yards versus the 200 meters. So I was the state champ for 2 years in a row in those 2 areas.
I have a question for Uncle Carlton Myron. What was your career path? You said you left, you had the car, and you left off that street. Were you broke all your life, or what happened there?
Well, you're talking about me now, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well,
Respectfully.
when I got out of college, I had the summer before going on active duty in October. So I tried to get a job. I took business. Administration was what they called a degree then, and you took so much accounting, so much this, so much that, so much that. So when I tried to get a job, I found I couldn't really get a job, and I found out that actually what I should have done was taken in those days they called it 24 hours credit in accounting, and then you could get a job as an accountant. You didn't have to be an accounting major, but you had to have 24 hours. I didn't have 24 hours. So when I went in the Army, I went in with some experience about not being able to get a job. So, so that's kind of like in the back of my mind. I didn't have a whole lot of confidence about what I was going to have to do to get a job. And then, so I decided to stay in the Army to kind of think things out. And what you would do when you say you're going to stay in the Army, they put you on orders right away. And I didn't know that. So they put me on orders the next month. And they send you to Germany, and you've got to do 3 years before you get back. So that's how I got over there with in Europe, thinking about wanting to get out and couldn't apply for a job because I was in Germany. So I ended up staying in the military. And so then I just kept going, and at the end, near the end of my 20 years, I was what they call a reserve officer, and you could do 20 years for retirement. Then like 18th or 19th year, I went back to school. I was at Hampton, Fort Monroe, Virginia, and I went back to school and took enough courses to get 24 hours of accounting. And so when I got out of the service, then I was able to apply for accounting jobs, and I applied for job in the government through IRS. They were hiring. You could usually get in the government through IRS because they can't keep people. So, and that's how I got into that. And then after the first meeting, they told you the conditions under which they would fire you. That was the first meeting we had. And just something about that didn't fix something about that people, right? You know, I had little personnel management classes. I mean, I just thought that was stupid. I mean, welcome people and tell them 3 ways I'm going to fire you. So I decided right then I was going to get out of IRS. So I ended up getting transferred to, once you get in, you can transfer it anywhere. So I got into, this is an interesting story. My mom was getting up in age then, and I talked to Bernice, and I said, well, maybe I need to go back home with all these grandkids out here in Texas. So I applied all over the East Coast, and a lot of them in D.C. area, because that's where most of the jobs were, and then Philadelphia, which is right next door to where our home was. And some of those job descriptions just had my name on it. I mean, it just was, this just me. This is me. You know what I mean? This is just me. You know? And you know, I didn't get an answer from nobody. Not one soul, except one guy in Dallas called me up, wanted to know if I wanted to come to Dallas and apply for a job. You know, so you know, my wife, you know, she's, you know, she goes about, you know, our steps are ordered. So she said, well, you know, I guess we ain't supposed to go home. You know, I mean, that's the way to take that answer. You know, for all them jobs I applied for, and not one person called me up just to even ask me my middle initial. What is stood? They ain't called me and asked me nothing. So I went on to Dallas, and I got into a program called Head Start, which was really starting to grow, and Clinton came in and put a whole lot of money in Head Start. So that was the place for me to go, because that's where I flourished.
You spent some time in the...
28 years later.
How many years?
I was running the place when I left.
How many years?
28 years.
Stayed there 28.
I was running what they call the District Head Start program, and we had 5 states: Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and New Mexico. So, you know, I just had to agree with my wife. I guess I wasn't supposed to go, you know, so that's just the way it worked out. That's how I ended up in federal government, and why I stayed so long where I was.
How long were you in the military?
How long were you in the military?
20 years.
And you retired, you were the rank of?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel. Pop-Pop was in the military as well? Anybody? I saw a sword of Pop-Pop. Does anybody know what that sword was about?
Well, he won the war last I heard. That's what my mother says. My mother said each year Papa was more instrumental in the winning of the war. So each year he's doing much. She said he wasn't doing too much when she met him. When she said by the time he left here, he won that war by himself. So I don't know where my daddy was. I know he was in the Army, and I know he got a veteran's pension.
It was just a ceremonial.
He got a pension.
He got through the basic. Yeah, that was all. And I understand he went up to 30 or something. He was up there.
That's
in the
in
Masons, but it always bothered me is why he never said anything to Marsh or I about going into the Masons. And so Marsh said, well, I guess he just didn't want us in the Masons. I said, I guess not, because usually your father brings you in, but Daddy never said anything about it. But I have the sword where he was, 33rd or something, 32nd.
What's the highest, 32nd?
33rd, wasn't it?
33? Yeah, he was one under. He didn't make it.
No, he was.
So I
32nd,
just got the
I
sword.
think he was 32nd.
32nd, yeah.
I forgot
Because he didn't make
the
it.
sword.
May I add something?
Uh-oh.
My mother-in-law talked to me quite a bit when I went to stay with her while he was in the service, and she came to New Jersey. So she told me a lot of history about Papa. He did serve in France, and so that was the main thing, and she was very proud of him in World War I.
Well, they didn't fight, but, they didn't have blacks on the battlefield at that time. If I remember, he was on the docks. And I remember, because he had a gas mask I hung downstairs because of mustard gas during World War I. Yeah. But I think if I remember correctly, he worked the docks, unloading ships and that kind of thing. When in 1948, that the Army was integrated.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is Papa told her, and she told me, and I thought it was the funniest thing, the people in France had not seen black soldiers. So somebody told the story, guys, it's funny, that black men had tails. And they were all everybody wanted to see one, date one, to find out if it was true.
The tail?
What?
Dog tail?
I think you lost.
Yeah, way back then.
Way back then, they
Like,
talked
what
about
kind
that.
of?
A monkey tail problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. That's
Just
common.
your standard.
That's common.
There's a little whale tail
All
back
black
there.
guys got monkey tail.
They did.
Let's see what's up.
Say that. They did think that.
That is such a
That's such a myth.
mess.
Well,
All right.
yeah.
Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
This is Dawn. You guys were talking about being segregated. Did you guys, it seems to me that all of you integrate very well with other races, so did you have a segregated life or were you integrated all along?
Yeah, my story is a lot different than theirs. I'll tell yours.
Well, I'm trying to think how to answer that. One thing is, race wasn't spoken much to me in my house, and I don't know again about what these guys did. So like, I don't remember zeroing up on that. I grew up next door to the Jewish synagogue. I mean, that was, so, and a bunch of Italians all left and right with red tomatoes sitting out on the backyard and grapes on the sidewalk where they made their wine. So, and then later on, as the Jewish moved out, the Catholic Church was taken over by Hispanics coming in from Puerto Rico. So they took over that church. Across the street was a Baptist church, and I don't know how many churches we passed going to my mother's Methodist church. So, I didn't have this thing about religion either. I mean, I just like, there was others, and I knew there was others, but we used to play out in the street with whoever lived on the block, and we played in the schoolyard with basketball and football. And it's funny, now I started off in an integrated school. I went to kindergarten in integrated school. I had Miss McDonald. You had Miss McDonald? You had Miss McDonald?
I had
So,
Miss McDonald.
you had Miss McDonald? So I started off there, but then, and I don't know what caused that. You'd think it would be just the other way around, but after maybe going into the first grade, then they took a church that was across the street and made it a black school, and all the black kids had come from way over there to come to this school, and walked right by the white school where he went, So I never. But even then, when you're little, you just go on. I'm with William. I was like William. I'm gonna play with my friends. Anytime you ask William what he wants to do, he tell you, I'm gonna play with my friends. That's William over there. That's the one back in the corner. What you want to do today? I just want to play with my friends. So I think we were just into like doing whatever, you know, with kids, and the neighborhood was mixed at the time, you know. Then when I went to the 7th grade, I went up to second grade school up to the 7th grade. And I passed the white junior high school, going up to this other school, and then when we came back, I went to Borough for 8th, 9th grade, and then high school. So I don't know that I had a whole lot of this racial thinking. Maybe I'm just blind to it. I just don't know. But I do know my mom and daddy didn't talk that stuff. They, other than, you know, they expect you to keep that name. When you're out in the street, they expect your name. It was all about that family name. And she didn't want to be embarrassed in that schoolhouse with you up there acting up. I mean, that much I do. That had nothing to do with race or segregation, you know. So.
I didn't have any problem. I didn't know anything about race problems until I went in service. Nothing. I was very fortunate in school. I was in athlete, so I you know, man, I just Easter. Everybody liked me, you know. But when I got in service is when I first started running into problems, you know, and back that day when I was in the 50s, this tech sergeant, he had 3 up and 2 under. He said, man, this nigga used to go hunting all that, and I'd get up and punch him right in the nose, and I was a PFC. I mean, you know, airman, 3rd class, nothing, no stripes. He had 5, man, but I didn't care. I was 19. Man, don't say that word around me, you know. I get up, put my shoes on, and we start fighting. And pretty soon he said, man, you can't be messing with these sergeants. Sure, I didn't care. So one time I just got it in me. I said, I'm gonna take this thing all the way up. I went to see the 1st sergeant, went to see his officer, went to see the XO, and he didn't answer my question right, and I asked to see the CO. He said, Aaron, let me tell you something. He said, you can go see the CO. And your case will come up. He said, but by the time your case will be up, you'll be in Japan, and he'll be in Europe. Plus, one time somebody said that N-word, and I got up and started fighting, because I fight. Boy, that boy laid me out. That white boy, he almost knocked me silly, you know. I laid up in the bed that night. I said, you know, I can't beat everything. That's when it come to me. I can't beat everything. But I didn't know anything about that, or didn't feel it until I went into service and I started mixing up with these people. In this text, and at the time, you know, you didn't have no stripes. So what's 5 stripes mean? You know, I'm 18 years old, you know, and I went through basic, and I would just jump over everything, you know, because like I said, I was an athlete, and I didn't realize that the TI wanted me to jump in the water. After I went over about 4 times, I realized he wanted me to get in the water so that I had to clean the boots, and I didn't know all that, man. But I didn't see no segregation until I got into service. And that old white boy from Wisconsin, he was from Wisconsin, man, he busted me. And I said, man, I can't be there. But I didn't see no segregation until I got into service. None. In the city, there was some, because I heard Jersey's bad. But in my community, I didn't see it. Now, like I said, I was fortunate in high school. You know, I was an athlete. But when I got into service is when it hit me. And I realized 2 things. You ain't supposed to be fighting on, you know, officers and sergeants that got a lot of stripes. And I didn't have nothing to lose, really. They knew that. I was nothing. Hear me? I had nothing. And this guy had 3 up, 2 under. Now back then, a tech sergeant was a big guy. Today, unless you're a Marine, it don't mean nothing. But back then, it meant something. I'd tear fire to him. That old boy from Wisconsin, boy, like knocked me out, man. I laid up in my sack. I always put my shoes on before I fought, because you never know, man. When you get to fight, you might need everything. Boy, that white boy hit me, man. Yo, I said, wait a minute. You can't win them all, boy. But I didn't see no segregation until I got into service. But not around the house. Yeah, like you said, Mom, Daddy never talked about it. Just wasn't in the house, you know. And in my community, I didn't see it. But when I got into service, you know, and everybody converges. And there's some tough old white boys out there, I'm gonna tell you.
Especially from Wisconsin.
That boy from Wisconsin.
Farm country.
So, any last questions? Go ahead.
Morris,
Oh, no, I was
What?
have Uncle Morris answer. He said his.
Oh,
His
about
version of
integration and segregation? Yeah.
And keep in mind, I'm born 1927. So that means in 1933, I'm 6 years old. I guess I went to kindergarten, so I might have been 5 years old. We live on Benson Street on the north side by 4th Street. Across the street was an old church that had grades kindergarten and 1. 2 blocks over, 3 blocks over, at Clinton Street was a small elementary school, and it had grades 2 to 4. 2 blocks over was a larger elementary school, and it had grades 5 to 8. Schools were segregated then. I was supposed to go to Bergen or Whittier, I don't know, it's some down further part of town. My mother went up to the city hall. Now, I don't know what she said. Now, keep in mind, my mother and father were Lincoln Republicans. Mom worked the polls for 50 years, and she was working the polls then. But Mom went up to town, and she said, I don't know why I have to send him there when there's a school across the street. I said to her, okay, Mrs. Reid. So I went to grades 1 to 8, being the only little darky in the school. So there was mostly Italians that I had to deal with. So there was some nigger stuff and this, that, and the other. We'd have to go around and around a little bit. But then I had some real good friends. Sammy Parisi, and Sammy Parisi ended up driving a Greyhound bus and transported Carlton's College Good Club. And Charles called me up and said, man, Sammy was driving the bus. Sammy was a baritone player. He was a musician. Richie Carlucci was back of me. So there was, I didn't really have too many problems in that respect. And of course, then I went right on through up. But getting back to the Army, I ended up in Fort Bragg. I just joined the Army, and it was a 758 Tank Battalion, which was a black battalion. They had just come back from Germany. And in Fort Bragg, they were going to make a training site there for tanks. But the war had since been over, and they had all these guys that come there, and in this black battalion. Well, anyhow, when we got, they had sergeants on KP. So here come us fresh recruits, because we were there 2.5 seconds, and we were washing pots and pans. But a little while after that, a guy went into Fayetteville. It's a little town. You've heard of Fayetteville, he teaches college. Guy went in from the 758 Tank Battalion, and some white boys put his eye out. We don't think he ever saw from that eye again. That afternoon, I had a sec sergeant who was out of Washington, who was about 6'4" and had bullet wounds all over the place. There was a black captain. He was out of D.C., and these guys knew each other well. The next thing you know, the recruits were told to go into the barracks on the 2nd floor and stay there. About 4 or 5 trucks started towards Fayetteville. We had a black colonel. The colonel found out what was going on. The colonel finally caught up with him and got out and talked to the captain. The captain was adamant. I mean, he was ready to go down, whatever would happen. So the tech sergeant, 5 stripes, comes strolling. He never did walk fast. He just strolled past everybody. And they said he whispered into the captain's ear, turned around and left. The captain put his finger up, go back. Convoy, turn back. Right? That night, at about 9 o'clock, cars went into Fayetteville. From what I understand, there were about 12 to 15 cars that went in there. They tore the town up. Anything they saw twice, they were mean. Now, keep in mind, these guys had just come back from the war. Just come back from Germany. And like I said, my tech sergeant, when he took the shirt off, he had bullet wounds all over the place. And they were hot because this guy just come back from fighting the war for these folks and somebody put it out. Well, of course, the state troopers were all over the place, the federal folk were all over the place, but nobody knew anything. You know? So they put all us recruits up there, they come ask us recruits to figure we brand new, we have scared half to death. But we really didn't know anything. So we said, we didn't know, we had to stay here. In fact, we had to wash the windows tonight. We got there in the middle of the night washing windows. So anyhow, I never will forget that. I never found out what actually happened, but the captain never disappeared, the sergeant never disappeared, and the colonel never disappeared. So I don't think you ever found out. Nobody just opened their mouth. That was pretty rough. That was a pretty rough group. But other than that, that was about it. And I'll tell you this little piece about the Army. I left there and went to Fort Knox. And I carried my saxophone with me. And I had a little leather case that he carried. So the sergeant walks up to me and says, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, this is a saxophone." He said, "Can you play it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay." He said, "Don't sign us our bags and this, that. I'll be back to get you. You know how to play Flying Home?" I said, "Yeah, I know how to play Flying Home." He came back about 8:30 and picked me up and went over to the non-cons club. Man, they had a little group in there jumping in there. He said, "I got a man here that's going to play Flying Home." Well, I don't know. Some of the older ones remember Lama Hampton and Flying Home. That was one of them get down, jamming kind of song. So that night I played Flying Home. And then I was introduced to the USO, the lady that ran the USO. And I got out of more assignments because she needed me down to the USO. And somewhere, I got a picture somewhere, I had about a 7-piece group. I used to play all the dances and this, that, and the other. So I spent a good bit of my time playing my little saxophone in the service. So that was a good part.
Marcus, you had a question?
You had a question, Uncle Morris. You said Nana worked at the voting precinct for 50 years?
Yeah, at least.
Was she able to vote all of 50 years? And if not, when
yeah.
She was?
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, she's the captain. She became the captain of the joint. I mean, she's in charge.
How old was she when she first voted?
I never asked her that, but now you're going back a ways. But as far as I can remember, there was a guy by the name of Vo Joyner. I can't remember his wife's name. She worked there as well. And in fact, she was there before Mom was.
She taught
Who
piano.
was the president back then?
Oh, well, let's see, okay. I'd have to try to run it back.
Well, I'm running out of tape. Here's one you can answer. We can look that one up. Cousin Marion.
Yeah.
She's a big part of this family. How did Cousin Marion come to be such a big part of our family?
Cousin Marion came to live with us. She actually completed Camden High School. She graduated Camden High School. I think she stayed to live with us for about 8 years. I think.
Longer than that.
9 years.
Yeah, she was there a long time.
But she finished high school. She went to junior high, and I think she ended up going to Whittier as an elementary school. But she was with us for years. So that's how she kind of has a little special relationship. Mom's sister's child.
And for some reason, Marion knows everything about the family. Everything, both sides. You ask Marion anything. I was 40, 50 years old before I found out that fat grandma was really Mom's mom. And she used to call Grandma Hall, just like she called my father Daddy, and I thought it was for us, but it was really her grandmother. You know,
Who are the Halls?
that was my mother's
Grandmother.
grandma. That was my mother's grandparents.
She,
Long time, I thought it
I'll
was-
tell you about Cousin Marion. Cousin Marion was a special person. She sent everybody $2 for 50 years. I mean, she just adopted our family. My mother didn't have no daughters. So Marion coming to the house was like a gift from God to my mom. And if you ever saw her around my mother, you could really see it.
Until Beverly came.
Yeah, she was very, and she was special. She was special to my daddy too. If you look, you got some wedding pictures where she was my father. She was special to my daddy. I remember we went out there one time and
That's how she got there.
way big steak like this. My daddy had on the tree, and the rest of it we had pig feet or something. I don't know what we had. It wasn't nothing fancy, but she was really special. But not only that, she repaid that kindness to my mother over the years. So she's a superstar in my family. But she's not a Reid. She's on my mother's side. She's from the Taylor side.
But she knows everything
But she knows
on both sides. She tell us stories. I got pictures that Marion sends me. This is your aunt here, this is this. And they all come. I said, call them and said, man, where do these people come from? Man, mom's sisters, you know?
Special person.
she's a special lady.
Yeah, she was. She is.
Special lady.
All right, well, with that, thank you very much.
That's
She's
good.
gonna be there.